Hello YouTube, my name is Garagax, and today I'm going to be playing Golgari Midrange in Standard. Basic game plan of the deck is that all of my, with the exception of Phyrexian Fleshgorger, all of my bombs have some sort of value engine in terms of cards in hand, either by drawing cards or discarding cards. Right? Like Caustic Bronco draws a card when it's and Monster Dread Knight can draw a card after it dies and then come back. Galissa can draw a card when it goes face. Liliana discards cards. Aklazos discards cards. And then Shieldred synergizes with card draw. Um, some notes I want to make about differences between this and a lot of in other versions of the deck that I've seen is that I don't prefer to run Deep Cavern Bat and prefer to run Duress instead, because in my experience, it's really the non-creature spells that actually give this deck trouble. Creatures aren't really a problem because the deck is chock full of removal for them. And the thing about Deep Cavern Bat is that if your opponent has multiple removal spells, then they'll just use one of the removal spells on Deep Cavern Bat to get their other removal spell back, which can be nice because you're using Deep Cavern Bat to soak removal to protect your bombs. But overall, I've just found that it's very rare that creatures in hand are giving me trouble. It's mostly non-creature spells in hand. And because Deep Cavern Bat can be answered and they can just get their spell back, I prefer Duress. But if you play the deck and you find that creatures in hand are giving you trouble, Deep Cavern Bat is an option. Another thing is that I don't like running Restless Cottage because although I understand it is a good card, I just don't like that it always comes into play tapped because it can mess up your deck's curve. And because the deck is chock full of card advantage effects, the active effect of Restless Cottage isn't needed as much. You could 100% put it in the deck. It's just a personal preference of mine. I also don't run Jix, or Gix, actually. I don't know if it's Gix or Jix, but I don't run him mostly just because he's rotating next expansion, and I don't want to craft him. I do have one copy of him, but I've just found that the other 3-drop bombs are important. I used to run Jix, but now I run Phyrexian Fleshgorger because I found it's way better against aggro. And one last thing is that I run Path of Peril because I found that the matchup against Convoke Boros is unwinnable without Path of Peril. One more thing. I've seen some people build this list with only 1, 2, and 3 drops. The idea being that you don't want to pull something big off of Caustic Bronco and nuke yourself in the face like with these guys. But what I found is that it's very rare that that's a problem because if you're going to build your entire deck around Caustic Bronco, right? Like you're not running any Shielders, no Virtue of Persistence, some of these higher level bombs or higher cost bombs just to synergize with Caustic Bronco, you have to think about a couple things. First, what if you don't draw Caustic Bronco? If you don't draw Caustic Bronco, then you just lock yourself into 1 through 3 drops for a card that you don't even draw. Now, because there's 4 of it, you usually will probably draw 1. But then you have to think about, okay, is it going to stick, right? Because it's a high priority removal target. Like a lot of the time, I don't get to untap with Caustic Bronco. My opponent just removes it, and then that makes way for my other bombs to not get removed. But even if it sticks, if I have a Dread Knight or a Glissa or a Phyrexian Fleshgorger and drop it on turn 3, I can just saddle it anyway, right? So the only situation where the cost of my cards matters is 1, I draw a Caustic Bronco on time, it sticks, I don't have a 3-drop, and I want to attack with it. That basically a lot of very specific factors have to align in order for the risk of drawing higher cost cards to be relevant, right? Usually you can just attack with a saddled Caustic Bronco, and against aggro, it doesn't really matter because you never attack with an unsaddled Caustic Bronco against aggro, regardless of the cost of cards in your deck. And you don't usually, if you're going first, you can, but you don't usually want to tap your turn 3 play to attack with Caustic Bronco and draw against an aggro deck anyway. So Caustic Bronco against aggro is mostly just a removal soaker. He just soaks removal for your Glissa and your Liliana and your Shieldred and whatnot. But that's basically it. So that's all for the matches. Oh, I misspoke there. That's all for the deck. Now we'll get into the matches. Sorry, my screen froze there a bit. All right. Oh, my game is freezing. Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's see what we're up against. Okay, opening hand is keepable. Excellent. I've been getting too many 2-land hands recently. This is not a 2-land hand, however, and I'm very happy about that. Let's see what they are. Okay, Gruul. So could be Gruul aggro, or it could be a different deck. It could not be Gruul, it might be Jund or something. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, it's Naya. Naya ramp. Okay, so I have to put the pressure on them then. And this hand isn't very good at doing that because it had 4 lands, which is unfortunate, but I mean, you have to keep that hand. So that's a keepable hand 100%. And if they weren't a ramp deck and played a creature, then my removal spells would have given me a turn 3 play, so I think this is fine. I could have also considered drawing with the Dread Knight, but I think that that would have been a mistake here because it was turn 2 and they hadn't played anything yet, so I thought they might be an aggro deck. And if they're an aggro deck, then the removal spells give me my other plays. And one mistake that I think I've seen people do a lot with Mosswood Dread Knight is they just automatically play it for its adventure before playing the body when they don't need to, because like it's not worth it at that point, right? The point of the card is to be a value engine where the point of the card is to be a value engine where when it dies, you can draw with it and then get it back, but you shouldn't just automatically draw with it. Here, I think I will attack, and I want it to die here so that I can draw with it next turn, because now I actually do need card draw. But, and I mean, if they don't block, that's great. I can just do other stuff, right? But basically, if I knew it was a ramp deck and I needed on-curve plays, it's reasonable to draw with the Dread Knight. But on the other hand, it's better to just play him, because if I draw him and I don't draw a bomb, then I just don't have a turn 2 play against a deck I need to beat down, which is not good either. So it cuts both ways. Another Glimpse of the Core. That's a little scary. They have 6 mana now. Obviously, many of their lands are tapped, but they could throw up some pretty big bombs next turn, so I gotta try to pick up the tempo if possible. Although I push 9 damage here, that's not really enough to threaten. I don't threaten lethal here, right? Like Shieldred is 6, Dreadnought is 3. I need 3 more damage. So basically, if I'd had a 3-drop, I might be in business here. But I didn't have a 3-drop. And I think, obviously, hindsight is 2020, right? And also, you don't know what you're going to draw. But in this situation, I think that playing the Dreadnought on 2 worked out better than drawing with it, because there wasn't going to be a 3-drop anyway. And Shieldred is my best 4-drop, so I would just probably drop it on 4, even if I drew another card, right? So I think playing it down is correct. So let's see what I draw next turn. Although my opponent is doing a lot of thinking. Well, I wish I knew what was in their hand so I could know what they're thinking about. But, you know, okay. Are they attacking? Of course not, right? Surely they don't attack. Let's see what I draw here. A Liliana. Okay, I will take that. Okay, so now I have a... I think I'm going to use her to discard, because I already have removal for this creature, and I want to try to mess with their hand to make their ramp chaos as minimized as possible. Of course, I'm not going to be able to completely do that, but I would like to try to do something. Drop Liliana and discard my Swamp. Although I do want to hit Virtue of Persistence, but I think I need to start Liliana rolling here. Oh, my game is freezing again. Sorry about that. Okay. The game couldn't handle Spinewood Armadillo, apparently. Oh, they're just going to discard the basic land, aren't they? Unless they need it for mana, then they won't.
Drop it.
Let's see if they discard it. My opponent is doing a big thing. And they discard a temporary lockdown. Okay. Actually, wait, do I swing here? Because I know that some of their payoffs could have haste, right? And I want my Liliana to survive. Okay, here's the thing. I don't actually know their deck well enough to know if there are any haste tramples in their deck. Because if they have haste but not trample, I want to attack with Shieldred here. Or no, if they have haste without trample, I want to attack with Shieldred. And if they have haste with trample, I want to attack with Dread Knight. And I don't know. But I need to protect Liliana, so I'm just going to hope they are ramping into a green payoff that doesn't have haste trample. So I'm gonna leave the Dread Knight up for a blocker. Although, no, now that I think about it, the Shieldred's only 1 more damage, so I should just throw... But then, okay, but what if it doesn't have trample, right? And I would want to have blocked it with the Dread Knight. I don't want to have to block with my Shieldred. and lose the Shielded. So I'm just going to swing the Shielded and hope that works out. We'll have to wait and see what they play, though. Fortunately, they did use their treasure token, so now they only have 6 mana available. But 6 mana is enough to cast that spell that puts 2 creatures from their hand onto the battlefield, which is a threat in of itself. Right? Because, like, if they just get, like, the high roll with double... does this have haste? It does not have haste, okay. They target my Liliana, which makes sense.
I think you look better as a corpse.
Okay, and in this case, I literally just go for the throat. And swing. And that's GG, I believe. Well, I guess it's not necessarily GG. It's possible for them to come back from this. Nope, they didn't. Yeah, like basically if they had another armadillo in their hand, when they untap, they could channel it to gain 3 life. But yep, okay, nice. So we took a win off of Naya Ramp, which is not something I've seen very much. I have no idea if it's good, so that doesn't really say anything about the deck, but a win is a win. All right, let's go again. See what we're up against this time. George with a J. I like it. Okay, this is a 2-land hand. I cannot keep it. I've tried to keep 2-land hands many, many times with this deck because I'm like, oh, I have Bronco, I have Dreadnought, I can draw, but it usually doesn't work out. So I don't keep 2-land hands anymore. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think I have to send back the Aclazotz, because obviously I can't send away my Glissa, because it's my only early threat. Path of Peril was mandatory against Flood, and I need to go for the throat, so sadly, I guess Aclazotz has to go into the bottom. At least I'm on the play. That's good. Although technically it's having to mold a 6 on the play is a little bit more punishing than second, because you have, right, you don't get the draw immediately, so if your hand is short on resources, it can be a problem, but I think it's still fine. Okay, Gruul again. Now, given that they played a damage land, it's probably Gruul aggro this time. So good thing I have my removal. Are they going to plot a slick shot? Yep, that's exactly what they did. Okay, so now I enter a conundrum. If I don't play Glissa and try to hold out a removal spell for their slick shot, and then they just plot a second slick shot, then I just wasted my turn. But if I do play the Glissa and they know I don't have removal and they pump a bajillion damage at me, you know, then what? So it's like it's a catch-22, right? If I play Glissa, then they can just pop off with the slick shot, and if I don't play Glissa, they can plot a second slick shot and set up for absolute annihilation. So it's really there's no way to know what the right choice is. There's no way to know. It depends on what's in their hand, which makes me really wish I had a duress right now. But okay. Maybe I should just pass, right? Like, I'm hoping they don't run protection spells. Honestly, I think I'm just going to pass, because since I have Bitter Triumph and go for the throat, I can handle double slick shot, so let's just pass. Because I've tried to, like, play a creature on board against this deck, or decks like it, thinking, it's just one slick shot, and then to get smashed in the face for 14 damage, and I'm like, oh, well, okay then. Okay, they did play the slick shot, so it looks like my decision was correct to hold mana for the go for the throat. Okay. Hopefully they don't have a protection spell. Please don't have a protection spell. Oh no, they have an instant. Please don't be a protection spell. Please don't be a protection spell. It's a protection spell. Oh wait, is it? Wait, what is that? Nope, yep, that was a protection spell. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. Path of Peril time, though. Path of Peril. That's awkward. That's the other argument to just playing the Glissa now that I realize it, is that because they're in green, protection spells are a thing. So they might just protect against my removal anyway. But I don't know. It's a tough call because it really just depends on what's in their hands, right? If their hand is one way, I should play Glissa. If it's another way, I should hold removal, right? Or hold mana for removal, I mean. Uh-oh. Cacophony Scamp. That's terrifying. Hopefully they don't do some shenanigans with it so that I can Virtue of Persistence it. Okay. Leyline Aura Wastes. play Virtue of Persistence to give it -3/-3, so hopefully it won't do as much damage to me. Actually, should I play Bitter Triumph first? No, because Bitter Triumph is, or not Bitter Triumph. Virtue of Persistence is sorcery speed. I definitely do not want to be taking any damage here. Let's grab the Bronco because I need removal. Hope they don't have another protection spell. They have green mana open, so it is possible. Or they could just buff it with Monstrous Rage. Oh my gosh, they had another protection spell. Oh, that's awful. That's really awful. Okay, okay, that's really bad. I guess no attacks, but this is really bad. Yeah. I know midrange is supposed to be good against aggro, but if aggro decks have stuff like that invalidates my removal, it's very difficult to win. Although depending on what their hand is, I might be fine here. Ancestral Anger. Ooh, that is GG. That is GG. That is GG. Nothing I can do about that, because if I block the Cacophony Scamp with the Glissa, then they just do 5 damage to me, right? Like when it dies, it has power. Damage equal to its power to any target, so I can't win there. Alright, so we won against Naya Ramp, and then lost against Gruul Aggro, because they had 3 protection spells, which is a very, very good for them. Very bad for me, but I'm sure they had fun with that, right? It's always the upside to losing is that someone else got to win. Of course, I prefer to be the one who wins, but you know. Okay, I can keep this. Blooming Marsh turn 1. And I'm on the play this time, that's good. Ooh, it looks like they're also Golgari. Let's drop Caustic Bronco and hope they don't remove it. They are Golgari, of course, so removal is highly probable. Ooh. Oh, never mind, they are Golgari Toxic. Well, in that case, as much as I want to saddle the Bronco this turn, I have to go for the Throw This Rock Priest. I can't let them untap with that, because again, protection spells. And of course, because this is toxic, I don't have to worry so much about nuking myself. Like, that nuke for 4 doesn't matter, because their win condition isn't damage, it's poison, right? So, I think this line was correct. Okay, Bloated Contaminator. Ooh, that does demand some removal. Good thing I drew a land. Okay, let's just make sure Arena's auto-tapping doesn't mess me up here. Okay, did not. Okay. Go for the Bloated Contaminator. Drop the Dread Knight. Saddle the Bronco. And swing. And what do I draw? Another Bronco. Okay, that's fine. At least it's not a land. Too many times have I drawn a land off of a saddled Bronco, and it's like, ooh, I wish I hadn't saddled. But of course, you have to saddle. You can't just not saddle because it might be a land, because well, like, if there were creatures to block or creatures with haste, then it would be a problem, but, like, if, then it would be a problem, but tapping is not a problem if they don't have haste or creatures on the board, right? But obviously, like, in this matchup, like, here's the thing. I did say that losing life to a Caustic Bronco draw doesn't matter because their win condition is poison, and that is true. But I don't want to take too many. Like, if I can saddle, I just saddle and go face, right? Because it always might be a non-land card. Although, of course, if the creature I'm tapping doesn't have haste, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the question is, I don't think I need to play Dread Knight here because I have plenty of cards in hand, right? So the Dread Knight, basically it keeps the value engine of the Dread Knight rolling, but I have tons of bombs and removal in my hand. So I would rather just play Shieldred here and go higher tempo on them. I don't really need the Dread. The one argument to playing the Dread Knight here is try to draw a card to get a land for Aclazotz, but I think this is fine. Okay, let's duress them and see what they got. Okay, infectious bite. Target creature you control's damage you limit target creature you don't control. Drink communion. Okay, so these only matter if they have a creature. I think I'm scared of Necrogen Communion more, so let's get rid of that. And play... let me think here. Do I play Flesh Gorger or Bronco? Actually, I think I play Bronco here to try to draw a card for Aclazot's next turn. That was a consideration I didn't make when I played Shielded, is that what if they just have removal for the Shielded, right? It basically, it just depends on what I draw, because if I draw a land for Aclazot's anyway, then there was no reason to not just drop the Shieldred, but if I don't draw a land, then, might have been good. It's a judgment call in that situation, because if they didn't, like, I was thinking about, like, drowning the Ichor and whatnot. Okay, there's my Deathcap Blade. So let's play Aclazot's, saddle the Bronco, and swing in. I must say, I've been seeing a lot of uncommon decks. Well, I guess Gruul Aggro is an uncommon decks, but I've seen a lot of uncommon decks in this video compared to the other decks I've seen on ladder. Oh, I didn't think about that. That a Death Touch creature could use these as hard removal. I did not think about that. Of course, I'm pretty sure I'm still good here, but it's a little close. A little too close for comfort. Okay, do I just play... No. Locthwain Scorn. Transform the Temple of the Dead. And pass. And they drew a land. Perfect. Restless Cottage, okay. That is definitely a reason to use that card. I just prefer not to run it so I don't miss my land drops. Because, like, can you imagine if I top-decked the lands on my Aclazot's turn and it was Restless Cottage and I couldn't have played them on curve, right? I might unironically have lost the game because of that, right? Okay, now I want to keep removal up, so let me think here. I think I just hardcast Flesh Gorger. I was considering playing Virtue of Persistence, but I think I just hardcast Flesh Gorger. It also serves to block the cottage. Yep, I think that's GG. I believe that is GG. Because I can just, yeah, GG. I can just shoot the Sheriff, the Bilious Skull Dweller. Alright. So how long has I been playing? 20 minutes? Okay, that's probably long enough. Alright, so that was the deck. I hope you enjoyed watching me play it, and if you want to give it a try, a couple things I will mention is that Path of Peril is rotating next expansion, so I wouldn't go crafting it right now if you don't already have it just to play this deck, because you'll just basically be wasting your wild cards. I crafted it with about a month left in the expansion because I like the deck and it's been worth it. But given that we're very close to rotation now, I wouldn't recommend it. Another thing is that you could absolutely put Gix in this deck. If you were to put him in, I would cut Flesh Gorger for him, not Liliana, because Liliana is cracked. And she single-handedly allows the deck to win against control, which isn't something that came up in this video. But this deck is very bad against control, but Liliana can single-handedly win the game against control. So I wouldn't cut Liliana. Also, if you do run into creature problems in your opponent's hand, rather than like creature's a problem when it's on the board, but it's just the fact that it's in their hand is a problem, you could absolutely run Deep Cavern Bat instead of Duress. You can play around with the removal ratios and the amount you have. But overall, that's the deck. I have had success with it. As you can see, I have reached I've reached a 99% rank in Mythic, which means that I have a higher rank than 99% of players. And I did it pretty much exclusively with this deck, so it is definitely viable if you want to try it. Although it is very dependent on Path of Peril to function against Flood decks. So if you don't already have Path of Peril, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But that's the deck, that's the games, and I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.